Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes that we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Well, hello.
Hi.
It's season 7, and we're in season 7 heaven.
I think we should start off the episodes every time like this now.
No, I can't maintain that pitch or whatever it was.
We're gonna have to try. This was a good episode.
It was. Oh, this is such a breath of fresh air after moaning so much about season 6. I was like, yes, I love this. It was so fun.
It was. It has a completely different, I'm surprised that this episode was written by Sarah Gamble with how light it is. Because usually she's pretty, heavy, dealing with heavy subject matter.
Yeah.
You know, the last one that she did was Let It Bleed. And that was, okay, let my heart bleed, why don't you? But this was so much fun. And before we were recording, I was saying to Amy that, this episode for Misha was Jensen's cowboy episode. You can tell he's having so much fun being able to play all these aspects of a character, or not even of a character. It's he's being taken over each time in these new forms. It's so good. I enjoyed that the most out of this whole entire episode. And I also love that they didn't try to do a stupid red herring.
Nope.
They didn't try to do... Obviously, you don't know this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're watching it for the first time. But the bad guy of season 7 is introduced in the first episode of season 7. How nice is that you have that so you can build on that for the next 21 episodes or 22 episodes. It's just such a nice feeling of, okay, I know where we're going.
Oh, yeah, I just could just relax. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they learned a lot from last season. I think this is it. Yeah. And this was just stellar performances all around. I loved everything about it. There were moments where we were like, whoa, and it was great, and it is funny. And you're right, Misha plays 3 characters in this, I think. Yeah, 3 at least. Mm-hmm. It's great. It's just wonderful. And there's so much happens in it, and the makeup's really good, and it's great. Yes. Yeah, that's what I have to say about this episode. Okay, bye. Yeah.
Bye. Nice talking to you. So we are obviously talking about season 7, episode 1, Meet the New Boss, written by Sarah Gamble and directed by Phil Shagrisha.
Yeah.
Phil Shagrisha is also somebody who loves Cass.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's whoever did makeup while he was God. Perfect. Just perfect. Though there was one when he had a bit of a blood mustache. I was like, blood mustache. Black blood.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's so true.
It kind of looks like a pencil mustache, and he's just going to be like, ho, ho, ho.
Very Gomez Adams, kind of
yes.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. But yeah.
I have to say this up front. I have a strong dislike, and I feel like this may come up multiple times in the season, so I'm just getting ahead of it now. A strong dislike for Dean's hair in this season.
Yeah. Yep. Why is it flat?
Why is it so flat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And I agree.
Yeah. Because Misha's hair looks so good, and Sam's hair looks so good, and I was like, they did Dean dirty this season. It's bad. It's greasy.
What is that a reflection of how Dean is coping in that he's not?
I feel like it's like this all season.
Yeah, I guess so. The thing I found really funny about this episode, especially in the beginning, it got less as we went further in. Mm-hmm. I do feel like they forgot to turn on a filter at the beginning of this episode because Dean's blue jumpsuit is electric blue.
Yeah, I loved that. It was great.
I think there was supposed to be a button pushed somewhere along the line. Because that's very bright.
I saw, right, this is so funny. I saw the other day, this reminded me of this, an Instagram reel. And it was someone putting like a blue-grey filter in front of their like phone camera. And it just said, this is what England looks like. And I was like, it does. And also, it's supernatural.
Yep.
That dreary kind of, yeah. We're living the dream. Oh, well, at least I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It was very bright. We're getting into new supernatural now. I always want to say new Who, but that's like a Doctor Who thing. We get this new supernatural where it's like oversaturated and like, yeah, it's bright. They have lost a lot of their graininess, and I feel like maybe through season 6 they kind of like slowly turned down the setting.
I think so too. Yeah, but then like when they get into the basement at the end of this episode, I feel like it's turned back up. Like the grittiness is there, especially with where Sam is, like where his, and that's probably so there's a line that is said that I was like, oh, okay, well maybe this actually explains what it looks like. But anyway, we'll get there.
Okay, cool. I think I know where you're going with that.
But like that basement is wet for one. Wet.
It's so wet.
But like it is way more gritty, and like every time I see it I'm like, oh, okay, this is why it's so imprinted in my brain, because they come back to this place so many times.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like 3 or 4 so many times. They must have had it built as like a set piece. It was like, this is cool, we have to use that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to get into it. I think I have a lot.
Okay.
So it's going to end up being really long if we don't.
Okay, no worries. We will get into it then. So we have the road so far, and I was surprised at how kind of far back it went, because it went into Swan Song, and Hammer of the Gods, like some of that stuff. Obviously matching music to timing with them killing things, and there was a bit of Soul of Sam in there, but really not that much.
It's a good song, this. Like slow ride. Take it easy. I love it. I love that song. It's on my playlists.
And we had Death reiterating about that it's all about the souls.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't, but there we go. But it kind of was. We then had just a lot of them smiting things and killing things and this, that, and the other. And then it ends with Cass, like the last scene of the last episode, Cass saying that, I can feel these souls, explodes Raphael. Sam then stabs Castiel in the back, or Cass in the back. Bit of a on the nose metaphor there.
Yep.
And Cass saying, the angel blade won't work on me because I'm no longer an angel. I'm your new god. Profess your love to me, unto me, your lord, and I shall destroy you. Yeah. And then we get a direct continuation.
Yes. I love a direct
I do love these. Yes.
Yes.
They are so good.
Yeah.
I wish more shows did this.
I do understand why they don't, though, as well, because like I said, the haircuts have changed. The wardrobe is slightly like I don't think you feel like you can get exact continuity just because like life happens and it's a whole like it might be even more than a year, right? Because they don't shoot shows in order as well. So
right, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen, but when they can do it and it works, I love it. This did work. It's fine.
Yeah, and I guess like it's only on rewatch that you're really gonna like, and you're binge watching it, that you're really gonna see those differences. Like in terms of time, it's been 6 months, so you're not really gonna be paying that much attention. I mean, I didn't even notice it. I not even, but I didn't notice it.
Everyone clocked Dean's hair. I know I would because I was a Tumblr girly at this point when I was watching Supernatural for the first time, and it was like as it was airing, kind of thing. And I remember people clocking the hair and being like, No, sir.
Yeah. It was about halfway through this episode. Well, not even halfway through. I think it was when after this scene,
Mm-hmm.
when they're back at Bobby's, is when it clicked for me that his hair is different. So I didn't see it in this one. I think I was just sort of distracted by the God Steel.
Yeah.
Bit. Like just everything about him just makes me weak at the knees. I'm sorry. I'm just one of those people.
Yeah. I mean, Bobby too, apparently, in this scene, because he's just like...
Sure, let me do that right now. Because, is it, like I said, direct continuation. Bobby sort of like, okay, starts to get down on his knees and he's like, is this okay, or do you want the whole forehead to the carpet thing? Obviously, referencing Islam.
Yeah.
Bobby's like, guys, you have to, and they both start to kneel, and Cassius is like he literally rolls his eyes at them and is like, stop, what's the point if you don't mean it? You fear me, not love, not respect, just fear. And I'm just like, I love you.
I love you. Let me profess I loved you. Oh, God, dear.
Oh, I am simping and I don't care. Sam starts to try and say something, and the thing that actually really stood out to me in this is how much more put together Sam is right now.
Yeah.
Because if you remember at the end of the last episode, he is like a bumbling mess. His hair is all in his face. Like, he is, I feel like, really sweaty too.
Yeah.
But like here is like, he's more put together.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they should have kind of kept that
a
bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was in trouble.
He was messed up
at the end of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Bobby even says it later, like he was running on adrenaline. And like, I love that they put that in, because you're like, oh, yeah, he totally was. Like, that's how he got through that. It's a good explanation as well.
Yeah, definitely. And Cassius turns to him and says,
You have nothing to say to me. You stabbed me in the back. Get up.
Dean is trying to reason with him, saying, this isn't you. And he's like, so what now? Are you going to kill us? And Cass is just like, what a brave ant you are. You know you're powerless. You wouldn't dare move against me. That would be pointless. So I have no need to kill you. Not now. Besides, once you were my favorite pets before you turned and bit me. I was like, no. Please stop.
Okay, no, right. Okay. All the interactions between like all of them in this episode are really good. Obviously, Cass still cares about them because he would have instantly smited them otherwise, right?
Yeah.
So like deep down, Cass is still in there, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
This is very, just to get very Star Trek on you at the minute, because look, Kirk and Spock went like canon for the 100th millionth time like a couple of weeks ago, and I've been thinking about them ever since. And this is very like, I'm purging myself of all my humanity because I care too much for you, and I would never show any love for anybody that is beneath me, like Colin R style, I feel. People might disagree, yeah. But like, I love it because there's still a little bit of Cass peeking through. I think mostly he's like under the influence, right, of like all this power.
Yeah.
But he, in the things that he does while he's God, in inverted commas, I feel like he's still trying to be Cass, despite the fact that he's like drunk on all this power. And it is literally that, like, he is drunk on power. He's kind of himself, but not without, almost, it's funny because he's almost a kind of mirror of soulless Sam, right?
True, yeah.
He kind of doesn't really have a full moral compass, but he does kind of still have a messed up morality that he's trying to follow. It's very, very strange. I know. I love God's Steel. I think it's interesting. I just wish they'd explored it a little further, but I'm happy with what we got.
Me too. And I agree that I would have liked to have maybe seen a bit more, but at the same time, having this small glimpse and like him being power drunk isn't gonna last forever. So I feel like it was like a week, maybe 2 weeks, right?
I think it was longer than that because like it took, I was going to talk about this later, but it's fine. It took Dean a long time to fix the Impala.
That's true.
I feel like it was maybe a couple months.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I was going to bring this up because I did write in my notes, how long was this? because it flits in and out of like news stories and things. It's long enough that like I feel like Dean's attitude, particularly, like I feel like Sam and Bobby were already on board with like we have to kill Cass, but I think that it's long enough that you see the shift between like we could save him to we need to kill him, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was good, and this whole scene is really great. I love it so much.
It is, yeah. Cass goes on to say that, you know, I'm your god, and if you stay in your place, you'll live in my kingdom. And if you rise up, I'll strike you down. He then turns to Sam and says, "You're not doing so well there, are you?" And Sam's just like, "Yeah, no, I'm fine." Again, this is one part where the direct continue doesn't really work because he's not as disheveled as he was, but that's fine.
You said you would fix him. You promised. If you stood down, which you hardly did. Be thankful for my mercy.
He turns back to Sam, says, "I could cast you back into the pit," and Sam looks terrified of that.
But that's what he said to Dean like a couple of seasons ago. Like, I took you out. He's always been like this.
Yep. But like, I guess he's never really shown his power to be able to do this. So now they're like, oh yeah, he could actually do this.
That's so true. It's not just like, oh yeah, our little nerdy angel friend's threatening us again.
Yeah, exactly. So Dean again trying to plead to him, saying like, you know, this is nuts. You can turn this around. And Cass says, "I hope for your sake this is the last time you see me." It's like, it won't be. You'll see him a few more times in this episode. Cass disappears. Sam, Bobby, and Dean all start looking at each other like, what's going to happen? And then Sam's nose starts to bleed, and it all gets a little bit haywire with the camera work. Camera work in this episode was a little nauseating at some point.
I agree. Yeah,
this was one of them. Because Sam starts to see like visions of hell and all this stuff, and gets all a bit wackadoo. And then we cut to heaven, and Cass is giving a speech, essentially saying that if you followed Raphael and you were against me, there's nowhere to hide. You will be punished. And then everybody else, our father left a long time ago, and that was hard. I thought the answer was free will, but I understand now you need a firm hand. Yes, please. Sorry.
This may
I don't know why I'm so horny this episode.
Being our 30th episode, because I'm bored too.
You need a father. No, thank you. And I'm your father now. Maybe.
No, I did write down about it. It's Daddy?
And he says, "Be obedient, children, or this will be your fate." And as the camera zooms out, you see a field of dead angels.
It is a new day. On earth and in heaven. Rejoice.
And then we get the new title card, and I love it. And it's a splat. It's a splat and a goop. So of course we enjoy a splat and a goop.
A splat and a goop. It is black ooze is what it is. It's his whole black ooze.
I don't know how I feel about it being on like white crinkled paper, but whatever. I guess it's supposed to be the wall, like in the basement, maybe.
Oh yeah, maybe. You're right. Yeah. I don't know.
Like, you know, they kind of splat against the purgatory. I don't know. Whatever.
Fine. Yeah. It's just a good contrast, I guess. But yeah, I like it. I like the beginning of the black ooze. I think the black ooze kind of haunts them now for until it doesn't. Yeah.
I do wonder. I mean, I do wonder how Eve plays into all of this, because she is completely forgotten.
Yeah.
Like her whole thing is just like whatever. Because like there's an explanation of what the Leviathan are in this episode, but then Eve is a mother of monsters. But like, how does she tie into? Like, is she like a mutated version of a Leviathan?
No,
maybe?
She's still I don't know.
Whatever. I don't really want to get into it, but I'm just like, it just came to thought in my brain.
I think Leviathans are pre-monster. And then I think And then I feel like monsters were also put in purgatory because they're Leviathan adjacent. I think that's it. I don't think they're like related.
Yeah.
If that makes
fair
sense.
enough.
Because I think in the supernatural universe, the Leviathan is supposed to be like the old ones, like Lovecraftian kind of thing.
Right.
They are definitely not as like cosmic horror as that.
No, they are 12-year-olds like the rest of us.
Yeah,
'cause they love a
exactly.
joke.
I think that was part of the disappointment with the season 7 that people had. That I maybe feel now is kind of unjustified on a rewatch, because I think they were gearing this up to be like a Cthulhu-esque, like old ones deal, and then you get like some kind of dodgy CGI, and like anything in Supernatural, they turn out to like just be guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like on a rewatch, you're kind of numb to that now, and you're like, of course they're just guys. Everyone's just a guy.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, especially with them sort of alluding, well, not even alluding, but having H.P. Lovecraft, you know, be the person who was trying to open the door of purgatory all those like years ago as well.
And I think they even like refer to them here as old ones or something, like in a Lovecraftian term. You know, so I can understand when people were like hyped up about this, and then when they actually saw them, were like, that's lame.
Yeah. Yep. And a bit of borax, you know, doesn't matter.
No, that's funny to me. I stand by that's funny. It's very War of the World. Again, they've drawn a thing, right?
True,
yeah. It's like, oh, they weren't around, these things were invented. I mean, they definitely were. Borax is not like... No, it's fine. We'll go into what borax is in another time. Okay.
When we get there.
Yes. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. Look, also love this. So after the title card, we see the camera work in this. We see like Dean, and they do it so he looks like he's... Is it the right way up or upside down? Like some kind of sideways.
It's upside down.
Upside down, yeah.
It's upside down.
And he's like trying to like boot out the dent from the roof of the Impala with his feet. I love that. I don't know. As we know, because we haven't mentioned it in a while, the Impala is like Dean's state of mind, right? So I was like, okay, how does this apply to this? So my thoughts were, because he's trying to fix the car, obviously, that he's putting his like broken heart / loyalty back together, right? It's been crushed because he's lost Cass, his best friend, and so something inside him has been crushed. He's trying to put it back together again, but then also he is trying to fix it, and I was like, this is healthy development. He's not leaving it crushed. He's making it anew. He's rebuilding himself after a betrayal, and I was like, I feel like actually in this episode, like he's actually kind of doing good. Like
he is. Yeah. There's a point where he's not doing so well, but like, I also understand why he feels like that. Mm-hmm. But for fixing the car and like the reasons why he's fixing the car just make a lot of sense. And just like, because I feel like the last time we really saw him fix it, sort of, going through this process, he then took out his anger on his car, whereas now he's like doing it in a somewhat loving way. Yeah. He's like, he says, oh, you know, come on, baby, like when he's trying to push the roof up.
It's not like he's fixing it out of spite anymore. He's fixing it because he genuinely wants it to be restored.
Yes.
I think that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're right. He's going like, come on, like, and he's like, come on, baby. Like, he can't quite get the like roof to bend back how he wants it. And Bobby like walks over and is like, are you fixing her or primal screaming? I guess because of last time, that might be a reference to that. Like, is this because you're dealing with some stuff, or you're actually fixing her? And he's like, he doesn't say anything, but he just like accepts the beer that Bobby bought him and asks after Sam. I think like basically Sam like afterwards passed out essentially because Bobby's like, you know, he's under, but he's alive. I mean, he was running on like full adrenaline, so he probably did just like pass out for a day or two.
I would guess several days. Because however long it takes to like get a tow truck, tow the car back. I mean, we looked into how possibly far this place is. Doesn't make sense, but this is supernatural map, so it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea about passage of time in this. So Dean's asking if he's heard anything about Cass, and Bobby's like, kind of like, well, you know, what am I looking for? Like miracles, mass visions, a trench coat on a tortilla? Like, I don't know. Because this is all new to them. Like, they tried to find God before, but they were getting Cass to find God. Like, he was just sort of doing it on like a side quest. So they weren't actually looking at his process in finding God. And so, like, again, they're talking about, well, you know, if we find him, what are we going to do? And they're both like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know. If you don't know, I don't know. And she's just like, well, you know, we'll figure it out. Like,
This ain't in no book. If you stick your neck out, Cass steps on it. So you know what I'm gonna do?
What?
I'm gonna fix this car.
and this is what I mean about being, like, healthy. I'm like, yeah, you focus on the things you can change, Dean.
Exactly.
And yeah, she's like, I'll fix her until she's good as new. And when Sam wakes up, and no matter how he is, like, we'll glue him back together. I just couldn't believe this was coming out of his mouth. I was like, who are you?
Exactly. And I feel kind of bad for Sam because, like, this has happened before.
Yes.
Bobby and Dean have these conversations where Sam needs to hear, but then the conversation that he does hear is something that's detrimental to Sam.
Yeah.
Because he needs to hear that whatever Sam's going to be going through, because they know that he's going to be going through something, they will help him put him back together. But what he ends up hearing later on is basically the opposite.
I think
Not completely the opposite, but like just like we need a win,
yeah.
so let's have a win. Like, yeah.
And I do feel sorry for Sam in this because, like, Dean does go through these, like, ups and downs in his, like, mental state, right? It's almost like a recovery addiction thing. He seems to, like, hit a low, you know, like when the car gets broken, and then he's like, do you know what? I'm going to fix things. Everything's going to be okay. And he, like, goes on this, like, almost like recovery, like, spiral upwards. And Sam sees it, and he's like, oh no, there are issues that I can't tell him about because he's worried about, like, sending him back down again. And then it's just like that kind of relationship. I think it's so unhealthy. I mean, obviously it is, and it leads to bigger problems later on because that's kind of why Sam isn't honest with Dean, because he's constantly worried about, like, sending him back to, like, dark places.
Mm-hmm.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So we go to Bobby's kitchen and Sam's awake. He sees Dean coming in to get, like, a beer from the fridge, and Dean's like, oh, you know, you're okay. And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm fine. And Dean kind of follows up, but, like, are you okay? And Sam just says, like, you know, my head hurts, but, like, basically, yeah. I mean, what's not said here, but it's kind of unsaid, is, like, Dean somewhat knows what he's going through because obviously he's been to hell as well. Not the cage, not for as long as Sam, not possessed by someone else. So it's like a whole new tier, but, like, he does know.
Yep.
Dean's like, okay, yeah, we're not going to look at that any further if you're okay. Let's just... This is what I mean. Like, it's not fair on Sam at all. Sam asks what's happened with Cass, and Dean's like, oh, you know, I'll come out to the car and, like, I'll fill you in. And then, like, as they walk out of the room, Sam starts seeing and hearing things. Is this where he sees, like, the hooks? Or is this later?
No.
That's later, right?
Later.
Yeah. So he just hears, like, I think, jangling. He kind of looks around and then does, like, a zoom on his face and stuff. It's very, like, there's something up here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I enjoyed this bit so much with Cass next. I don't know why. I don't know. I think I also kind of hate hypocrites. I think that's why.
Yeah, and I think that's fair to say, and also we all know this character, right?
Yeah.
The Reverend. We all know this person,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's through, like, media or the news, whatever, of the pastor, reverend, preacher, whatever, who is condemning everybody and yet turns around and does the exact same thing. Like, and we all want to get our revenge on them.
Yeah, you know, you'd be like, well, don't be... Yeah, I know. I don't want to get too political with this. This episode's actually fairly political, I would say. I don't know if they'd get away with it these days. I have to be honest.
I don't know, because I think everybody's on the same page with this guy.
Yeah, that's
like,
kind of
with
true.
Cass.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone out there who's really defending this character, apart from the people who are really in it, but they're never going to watch this show.
That's so true. Yeah. They were literally saying in the audio commentary last time, which I mentioned in our wrap-up, was just like, we never really get any hit back from any groups, you know? And I was thinking, were you trying here? Were you
I guess Sarah was.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a reverend and he's preaching against, like, lifestyle. And we all know what lifestyle means, right? It's anti, like, LGBT.
Yeah.
Because he mentions media, Hollywood, and Lady Gaga. This is so dated.
It is, yeah.
And he's like, you know, we picket their weddings and their funerals. So I think this is supposed to be also somewhat related to like the Westboro Baptist Church as well, like adjacently. And he's like, someone has to speak for God. And then Cass walks in all badass and says,
and who says you speak for God?
Oh, yes. Oh, please. So he says, you're wrong. I'm utterly indifferent to sexual orientation. On the other hand, I cannot abide hypocrites like you, Reverend.
Okay, fun's over, friend.
Tell your flock where your genitals have been before you speak for me.
What a line.
What a line. And to be able to say it in just like straight face.
Yeah.
I can't.
I know, right? Where are the outtakes from this? I reckon we should just deliver this. Like,
oh, yeah, for sure. Because Jared wasn't on set.
That's so true. So, obviously everyone's like murmuring, like, who is this? And he's like, I'm God. And he says, I think this is a Bible verse. He who lies in my name shall choke on his own false tongue, and his poisonous words shall betray him. And like the Reverend's like choking and foaming at the mouth as he's clearly like choking on his own tongue, and he just like dies. Then he says this, I am the Lord your God, and walks out. As he does so, like he touches a pew, and like it almost like, what is that line they say to him later on? The very touch of you corrupts. It's that, but on the pew, like it's all like gross. And we hear like a voice shouting him. It goes Castiel and then Cass, like it's trying to refer to him in like his nickname too, which is creepy. And then they do this cool shot where he walks in front of a stained glass window, and then like as he looks back, like it's him.
What I thought was really interesting is that this is the image of God that he wants, is his human vessel. He didn't choose his angel, like, you know, the size of the Chrysler building form. He chose his human vessel form, which I thought was really interesting and is playing into what you were saying earlier of that Cass is still in there. Because if he truly thought he was God, he would not make it human. Yeah, I don't think.
I agree with you,
especially with the way he spoke to Sam, Dean, and Bobby, like calling them ants and pets and degrading them.
Yeah, because you could almost imagine like the whole line, like "Look on my true form and despair" or something like that, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I always thought that since Jimmy died, like Cass has always just seen the vessel as himself, like, especially since he exploded in the graveyard, like definitely.
Yes.
And then was brought back. I think he is Cass now, like the vessel is Cass. And I think it almost explains why, kind of like, obviously because the show goes on, but like why Cass's vessel like ages along with him as well, is because ultimately that's Cass now. Like it's not no longer Jimmy. But you're right, it definitely adds to the fact that like Cass is still in there. So we go back to Bobby's basement after this church scene. And Sam is like in the by himself doing something. And yeah, this is where, so he sees like a hallucination as he's going through this. And it's all like meat hooks and stuff. And it's like got like things to attach to it. It's gross. I was like, this is like Dean's kind of hell that we saw at the end of season 4, 5, 3.
Yep, all the way back at 3.
And we hear like, and Sam's just saying, no, this can't be happening. Like he's freaking out. Luckily, like Bobby interrupts him and he's like, you okay? You know, taking a nap down here. I think Bobby clocks that he's not okay, but doesn't say anything at the time because you can see he's like freaked out. So he just says like, come on, it's Cass, we've got to go. They are watching like a television in Bobby's kitchen. And I was like, this is what we were missing last season. This is exactly what we were saying. Like all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
So the TV announcer saying that like a sudden deaths of some 200 religious leaders are currently under investigation. The Vatican has yet to issue a statement, but some are already calling this an act of God. I was wondering, like, this is one of the interesting things about Supernatural. I wonder what the world was like after these events.
Yeah.
Because like he does kill like a bunch of people, like influential people.
I mean, he would have gone after so many people of the Catholic Church for sure. Not just these like outlying, snake handler types of the Christian religion. I do wonder, because they do say specifically like religious leaders. So I'm wondering if he went after other religions too. I don't think so, because on the screen it shows like a bunch of churches rather than like mosques and synagogues and things like that. So I do think he went, and obviously it is based in like the Christian religions loosely. Well, Jesus is in this episode, kind of. So, I think he probably is going mostly after like Christian hypocrisy.
Yeah, I think so too. I think because like the God in Supernatural is supposed to be like the Christian God, right? Like I don't think it's supposed to be representative of anyone else. I think that was on purpose too.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the thing is, we don't know, because none of that kind of stuff would ever affect like Sam and Dean's life. So we don't get like that's why we don't know about it, because we only really follow them. We don't really see any. It would just be, I don't know. It would just every now and then just getting like a little hint of something their world being different to ours, right? I think that's.
And I guess we kind of do have that with the Men of Letters from Britain coming in, because they are like, it's you guys are the ones who are messing everything up, But it's just not enough, because like it's still like an English speaking country.
Yeah, like, it's just interesting to like what does their world look like? What do their politics look like? Like what does their religious framework look like now? Because like it could go one of two ways. I feel.
Well, what happened to that kid in that episode where he's basically a Nephilim, but not really?
Oh, the Antichrist. I didn't look.
Yeah,
one
the Antichrist.
Many unmentioned things, but yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. That's what I was thinking. Like, what it looks like. So, because
sorry, I want to go back to that just real quick, because Cass is petty enough to try and find him, because you turned me into a toy figurine. I'm gonna come get you for that.
Maybe that's the answer. Maybe Godstiel killed him. Right? Yep. Maybe we could all be at peace with that.
Because he'd be like, early teens at this point. And
he's so powerful now. I feel like he could just like kablooey this kid. Yeah, right. So maybe. Let's go with that. So there's this woman they're interviewing on the TV, and she's like, oh, we all saw him. No beard, no robe.
He was young and sexy.
The thing I made note of for this, Dean starts walking towards the TV as soon as she says sexy. Dean doesn't need the confirmation that he was in a raincoat to know that it was Cass, because she said young and sexy.
So he was like,
yes,
sexy? It must be Cass. I love that so much. Bravo editing on Supernatural. We love you. Yeah. And he turns off the television.
It's like, I've heard enough. Young and sexy, must be Cass.
This must be him. No more confirmation needed. And then Dean goes out. We see Dean in the Impala, and he's like working on some stuff. And again, he's like listening to a radio announcer. Sam and Bobby aren't with him at this point. It's like just a montage, I guess. And the radio announcer saying that it believed the targets to be high up figures in the white supremacy organization, and the FBI now believes the Ku Klux Klan has been forced to disband. And Dean's just like, yeah, I can't argue with that one. I love that as well.
Yep.
I like the fact that these things are all happening, and some of them are like, that's out of line, Cass, and some of them are like, that's fair.
Yeah.
And then there's another time as well where another radio announcer, while Dean's working on a different part of the Impala, is saying that a freak lightning strike on the heels of a fire that burned down the Center for Vibrational Enlightenment earlier today. This tragedy represents the largest loss in the New Age motivational speaker history. And Sam's just like, what? Motivational speakers? And Dean's like, yeah, I'm not sure new cast gets irony any better than old cast.
Of course, old Cass wouldn't smite Madison Square Garden just to prove a point. Well, he is off the deep end of the deep end.
Yeah, I don't know if I just missed this one. I don't quite get the irony in the motivational speaker stuff. Maybe it's just like, I don't know why. This one didn't land for me.
It didn't land for me either.
Okay.
And I didn't really look into why it would motivational speakers.
It says the Center for Vibrational Enlightenment. Didn't Cass once say that he was basically just like a celestial wavelength of light or something? So maybe it's that. I don't know. Listeners, tell us what this joke is. Explain it to us, because it's not landing.
Nope.
So Sam's like, should we try and talk to him again? And Dean's like, no. And he's like, come on, we can talk to him. That's all we can do. We can talk to the guy. And Dean says, he's not a guy, he's God, and he's pissed. And when God gets righteous, you get the hell out the way. Haven't you read the Bible?
So I think it's interesting that how Dean has changed talking about Cass, because he called him a baby in a trench coat. He's called him a nerdy little guy. He's called him all these kind of names. And suddenly now that he's shown power, he's like, nah, he's not a guy. He's a god.
Yeah.
We're going to respect him now because he's a god. It's just like, when have you ever respected gods?
Yeah.
You've killed so many gods over the seasons. Why this one? We know why this one, because it's Cass. He would never try and actually kill Cass.
No. I feel like no serious attempt was made to kill Cass in this episode. No actual serious attempt. No. And I know they try and do a whole thing, but I don't think it was that serious.
Nope.
No. He does say here, Cass is never coming back. He's lied to us. He used us. He cracked your gourd like it was nothing. No more talk. We spent enough time on him. So, Dean's going through the stages of grief here, and he's that anger.
Yeah.
So then we cut finally to a trailer park, and it's not even a trailer. This is a caravan, a small caravan.
Yeah, a really grotty one.
It says it's got a Tennessee license plate, but I like to believe that Crowley was in a caravan in Scunthorpe or something. Which is a seaside town in England, by the way. A really grotty one.
Well, he had to be in America, right?
I know, but
how else is he going to keep up with it
if he's just in some terrible English seaside town, because it just fits more with his character, I feel.
It does, yeah. It shows the huge descent from this, mansion having demon at the when we were first introduced to him.
Yeah.
Way back when in season 5.
And being in Scunthorpe.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the name of it is awful. So these boots were made for walking is playing, which I loved as well. The music in this episode is really good. And this I'm not calling it a trailer, it's a caravan. This caravan is covered in what we recognize now as anti-angel sigils, just squiggles everywhere. Yeah. And Crowley is there drinking whiskey in front of the TV. And the TV news is saying that basically leprosy's been cured. So it's a miracle on a grand scale. And they're talking to a health correspondent about it. And he just called Rob Lewinsky, and Crowley says, "Educate me, Lewinsky." And then Cass appears just in the caravan. He's like,
Hello, Crowley. You look stressed.
Bollocks.
Crowley's answers to Bobby's balls.
They could be best friends if they wanted to be, Crowley and Bobby,
I mean, they've already kissed.
They might as well just go full friendship bracelet.
Exactly. Yeah. So Crowley says, so the jig is up, you found me, and Cass is like, I never lost you.
Mm-hmm.
He Cass sort of condescended. I don't know how you do it condescendingly, but he absolutely did condescendingly look around all these sigils.
It was good. Like, this is it.
And he's like, these scratches, they're useless. And Crowley offers Cass a drink.
You fancy a drink before you smite me? No. You like to bend them right over, do you?
Let's go. And he like holds out his arms and like squints up his face. And Cass just says, I'm not going to kill you, Crowley. I have plans for you. And he tells him what the new arrangement's going to be. I let you live. You return to your post as King of Hell. But Cass is going to choose where each soul goes and controls the flow. And like, you take whatever I give you. So basically stopping all demon deals and all that kind of stuff. And like demon intervention and things like that.
It would also protect the people that he cared about from ever having to go to hell again if he controls where
This
the
is
souls
true.
go. Just saying.
Yeah. Shame that didn't work because, in a few episodes, someone's going to go to hell. Anyway, I'm not going to say that. And Crowley's like, well, see, I guess you're going to keep, the lion chair and like downsize hell. And Cass is like, well, yeah, I would have done away with it completely, but I needed to hold a threat over my enemies and we need to keep Lucifer in Michael's cage. Mm-hmm. So it's not powered by souls. So that would have been a kind of an interesting concept that like you had to keep souls in hell to keep the cage closed. But I feel like that's too much to think about. Yeah,
but like the real estate, like Crowley was talking about, so I think that hell itself is kind of I can't. Someone once did a thing on like the exponential, how much hell must be expanding per year, like in physics terms, but like that will be slowed essentially.
Yeah, and I guess it's the same thing for heaven, right?
Yeah.
Because each individual person has their own heaven, which takes up a certain amount of space.
It's a really interesting physics thought puzzle, actually, that's like online somewhere that they're talking about that expansion and then whether like hell is like gives off heat or takes in heat, like whether it's exothermic or endothermic, and like ultimately like they decided that it must have to take in energy and be endothermic, and I thought it was interesting. Sorry, nerd alert.
And Crowley's like, yep, cool, I graciously accept, boss. And like Crowley pours himself another drink, basically. As Cass is pouring the drink, he sees like a mark on his hand, and that he disappears.
Yeah.
He just says, I'll be in touch. So then this is another moment where it was really like, oh, too much going on. We're back in Bobby's kitchen. Sam is like reading a book and he starts to hear like whole weird noises and all this kind of thing. And then suddenly like there's a crack in the ceiling and a giant chain flies out of it and wraps around his neck and pulls him up to the ceiling. Yeah. Visually looks very cool. Yeah. I thought that was quite interesting. But then it's all in a dream and Sam suddenly wakes up like... And he like it's so heartbreaking because he calls out to like Dean and Bobby clearly to like orientate himself and like make sure that he's no longer dreaming.
How many times did he call out for them while he was in hell? Yeah, that's where I'll make it sad. I'll do it.
So the Impala is now basically all fixed. It just needs a paint job, and you see Dean like prepping the antenna aerial so that it doesn't get paint on it. And Bobby comes in and starts talking to him about Sam basically and the whole situation. And this is where Bobby points out like that he's seeing, these concerns of Sam, saying, how is that kid even vertical? I mean, Cass broke his damn pinata. And so this is where he points out that
I get how he came to help us back at the lab. Adrenaline. Sure, but now?
Dean's just like, well, he says he's okay. And Dean just says, I pray to God that it's true. And Bobby's like, we need to come up with a new saying for that. I like that. This is when Sam sort of enters the garage, but isn't really seen. He's eavesdropping on their conversation. And Dean says, seriously though, Bobby, look at our lives. How many more hits can we take? So if Sam says he's good, he's good.
Yeah.
Or if he says he's good, good. And Bobby's like, do you believe that? Dean's initial answer is yes. And then he changes it to no. And he says, want to know why? Because we never catch a break. So why would we this time? I just this one thing.
But I'm not dumb. Not going to give my hopes up just to get kicked in the daddy pills again.
Sam is definitely trying to look out for Dean here.
You're right. Just this conversation as well. I wonder if, because I've never really thought about this before. I wonder if Dean's thinking they're like, I mean, obviously they have Cass to deal with as God, but I'm wondering he's partly thinking if they're like monster hunting days are a little over now, because like Cass is just sort of like mopping stuff up left and right and center.
You know, that would have been so again, like they get it kind of right, but not all right, because they're focusing on the world now and like the human, what's happening in the human world, but like we don't get any mention of like what's happening with monsters at this point.
Because as far as they're concerned, right? Okay, I just got to go. I only mention it because during this conversation, like Bobby compliments him on how well he's working on the car, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing damn well. Like I should do this professionally." Like it wasn't like, I don't know. There was just something there. I'm like, "Yeah, you should, baby girl." But
yeah. No, I said the same thing. I was like, "Oh, are you going to open up the Winchester garage?"
Right? Now? But like,
no.
There's something about Dean in these like early scenes of this episode where he's like so chill because he's like, Sam's fixed or he's kind of fine, you know, he seems to be all right, like no lasting damage, but like maybe that's kind of hanging over us. And yeah, we've got Cass to deal with, but like ultimately we can't kill him because he's God, can't really talk to him because he's God. We kind of just have to let him do his thing as long as he doesn't try and kill us. Like there's nothing much else we can do. He doesn't seem to be like, you know, busting to get out to like go chop up some vampires, you know?
Yeah.
It just made me wonder, like, this whole conversation, because he's even like we were talking about the jumpsuit at the beginning, like, so he's dressed in a jumpsuit. He's not even like dressed like a hunter through like a lot of these scenes as well, because he's dressed like a mechanic. And I do kind of wonder, like, what was their hope, maybe having to take Cass down and then things are kind of cool, because Cass has absorbed all the souls in purgatory. He's like solved the monster issue there. They're all like inside him. Yeah. As long as they can put them back, like it's kind of good. And then there would be no angels to deal with. There'd be no God to deal with. I guess there'd just be your regular run of the mill like stuff. But I'm sure they're assuming that Cass killed Crowley. Like, do you know what I mean? Like all this kind of stuff sort of figured itself out. They've only really got Cass to deal with. So I feel like there's part of Dean here that's like, yeah, now what?
Yeah, no,
But we don't.
You're right.
They don't really get the chance to kind of do that, because in this episode they kind of deal with the Cass issue and then we move on to the next thing. But I do think that part of fixing the Impala and thinking that Sam was okay with him like taking a breath, like all of them like, okay, everything's kind of like, for now we know what the issue is. It's all good. There's not much we can do about it.
Yeah, and I guess like we got to deal with God. Like, hunting a vampire right now is not that important, because God can wipe out 200 people in a day.
That too, you know? Like, yeah, I don't know. I only just thought about it just now, and I was like, yeah, you know, I wonder what they're thinking about in generally the world. Like, maybe they just assumed that Cass like killed all the monsters. Like, they don't know that he didn't.
Yeah. And I mean, there's no way. Well, I was going to say there's no way to know that like killing a monster would put the soul into purgatory. Like, have they irreparably harmed what purgatory is by opening the door?
Yeah.
Obviously we know that they didn't, but like that might have crossed somebody's mind. I don't know.
It's just, there's some interesting like existential questions here about stuff. But like there's no time to explore them, because obviously like everything has to happen in this episode, which is good. I liked it. I liked how it went down, but it's just interesting to think about.
Yeah. I don't know how I'd feel about having this being a two-parter.
No, I don't think it would have worked.
No. There's enough substance for this episode that it didn't need to be two.
And again, this is maybe part of the reason why I talked about the whole like spiral, you know, up and down thing that Dean does, but it also plays into the fact like Sam's so reluctant to tell them that he's having visions of hell, because he's like, well, we have one big problem to deal with. Why do we need another big problem when actually everything's kind of like, okay, nothing's directly affecting us. Like, the apocalypse isn't happening. Like, Cass is killing a bunch of people. Like, that is happening. But there's not much they can do about it, really. They're doing the research they can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Sam then emerges after eavesdropping, and Bobby and Dean both act very guilty about the conversation that they've just had. And I don't think it was necessary. Like, they're each trying to protect each other by not telling each other things. And again, Dean gets a bit self-righteous in this episode with it, and just like, you're not, yeah, you're telling the truth to him now, like at that moment, after you find out about the hallucinations, but like before then, you could have talked to him now about how you're feeling about things.
Yeah, they could have been like, oh, Sam, we were just talking about you and saying like how it's amazing how you're not having any after effects from hell. Like, do you feel like you are feeling anything? Because if you are, you can always come to us and talk about it, man.
Exactly. Instead, you just get Bobby saying, how you feeling, sport? And like, Sam just can be like, what'd you say to that?
I do feel like sometimes just open, honest, emotional conversation makes for maybe not as good TV though.
This is true. This is very true.
I don't know. I need to find a show that actually, I feel like there must be a show out there that does it and does it well. You know what I mean? There must be.
There might be.
Maybe not a monster hunting show though,
Not a monster hunting show. I don't know if it'll be like amongst men. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It'll be like a woman-led show, which is a bit of a shame.
Healthy male relationships on television, please.
Yes. And let's make them also heterosexual too.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like it's like gay men who end up having the emotional not outbursts, but the emotional scenes. It's just like, nah, it's not.
It's not, like anybody is capable of having emotional grown-up conversations. It's all good.
Exactly.
You don't have to qualify it.
Yeah, exactly. So Sam is like, we Cass's body count is getting, ridiculous. We got to do something. And Bobby's like, well, how are we going to hunt the son of a bitch? Unfortunately, I lost my god guns. Sam still has his head on his shoulders because he's like, what about the weapons that Balthazar stole? Like, maybe there's something in there. And then that clicks with Dean. He's like, well, maybe there isn't something, but maybe someone. We then cut to them doing a ritual, and like Crowley appears, and he's got like a bottle of whiskey in his hand.
Again, there must have been at some point this were like, is this going to work, or has it already been like kablood?
This is true. Yeah. I do love the setup of how they are in this, because this entire scene, Dean is just leaning. It's like it probably is very much like, this is not gonna, like, there probably was a conversation like, this is not gonna work. Like, Crowley's dead. Well, no, because Cass has already said, because Crowley ran before Raphael got killed. Yeah. And Cass said, I have plans for him.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So maybe that's why they're confident enough that Crowley is alive, because he needs to be alive.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
in some sort of way. And Crowley's like, my new boss is going to kill me for even talking to you lads. And Dean's like, you're lucky we're not going to stab you in your scuzzy little face. And Sam's like,
What new boss?
Castiel, you giraffe.
I love that.
It made me laugh way too much. I feel like Mark Sheppard must have ad-libbed that. It was like, honestly, it came out so naturally. Like, it was
so good.
So good.
It was so good. There's got to be a list out there for all the animals that they've Crowley's called both of them
so much.
So they've called Crowley so that they can find a spell to bind death, because they knew that Lucifer did it, and Crowley's like, yeah, but that's Lucifer, so of course he could do it. And Sam's like, well, a spell's a spell. Crowley's like, well, you believe you can handle that kind of horsepower? You're delusional. And Dean explains that Death is the only player on the board that has that kind of juice that could take on Cass. And Crowley's just like, they're just gonna mash us like peas. Why should I help you with this suicide mission? And Bobby's like, do you really want Cass running the universe?
So rude.
As if that's enough.
Yeah.
We're then in the daytime, and a blind homeless man is asking for change, and Cass comes by and drops change into some coins into the can. The homeless man says, God bless you, sir. And Cass says, you're a true believer. People say I'm wrathful, but I only punish liars and those who forsake me. I'm a just God. He then heals this man's blindness, but it's just like, you're God, and yet you gave him less than $1 in change. How much are you involved in somebody's life? Like, are you going to give him life-changing money? I know you just healed his blindness, which is amazing, obviously. But like, what's he going to do with $1.50? You know?
It's a good point. I think it's kind of part of it, right? It's like showing Cass's naivety as well, like in all of this, because it's like, cool, yeah, you did, like, it doesn't mean you shouldn't help people, but it's like you should be aware that like one act of helping someone is not fixing the overall issue. I think that's right. So
Exactly.
Which is maybe what he tries to do next.
Yeah, I guess so. So then the homeless man now can see, but when he looks upon Cass, he's got like all these blisters and stuff across his face, and he's like, "Your face, what's wrong with you?" We then cut to a bathroom, and Cass is like looking at his face and like seeing all these blisters, and it's all kind of, it looks like an upgraded version of Lucifer when his vessel was starting to fall apart.
Yeah, it does look similar, doesn't it? I think that's what we're supposed to like clock it as, that's what's happening. And like obviously Balthazar mentioned that he would explode eventually as well. Yeah,
exactly. And as he's looking at himself, like there's more voices that are hearing. He's like, "A mistake, too late, let us out." And he sort of opens up his shirt, and like you see all these hands and stuff like coming out of his stomach, and it's just like, oh god, like body horror to the max kind of thing.
Is Cass pregnant with Leviathan? Is this a pregnancy metaphor?
Yeah, I guess it is. It must be. Also, is Misha naturally tanned everywhere, or is he running outside shirtless? Because his stomach is tanned too.
I think you answered your own question there. I think I'm pretty sure that he has posted shirtless running videos before. I feel like that's a thing. I'm sure there's been one on Instagram. I'm sure.
Because I didn't notice that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't worry about it. Don't think about that too closely. It's fine.
No. Nope. And then this voice is like, let us out. And he's like, no.
I didn't like it. I don't like this body horror stuff.
It was, it could have been worse.
Yeah.
I think.
And it makes sense because ultimately it's reminding you that Cass, in his appearance as a human, is just a vessel that is containing something, right? And that thing that he is containing is trying to get out. And I think that's cool. Mm-hmm. I just felt that, like, emotionally, I'm like, hands and stomach.
Well, I guess that's another point to what you were saying with, these being the old gods and what have you. Like, why is it hands? Why is it not like something more shapeless?
Because tentacles are getting too close. It's too kinky.
Yeah, I guess
they could have had like tentacles coming out of his like mouth and stuff. That would have been cool. Mm-hmm. I would like that,
or something. Just not just black hands.
Oh, the hands. I think the hands make it weird, and that's why I say it's like a pregnancy metaphor. Because like that happens to pregnant women, doesn't it? Where you like sometimes the baby kicks and you like see like a whole outprint of like a foot and stuff.
That's the main reason why I don't want to be pregnant, because I don't want to see that. Fuck that.
But like, yeah, I was like, yeah, this is totes. Like, I'm gonna bring it right now. So basically, Dean is pissed at Cass because he went and got pregnant with his like rebound Crowley.
Yep.
With all these like baby monsters, and that's really what happened here on Supernatural Days of Our Lives.
He went and got another baby daddy.
Exactly. That's why he's so mad.
No. We could have done it together, Cass.
Yeah.
But no.
They do have a kid adventure, it's all good.
Yeah, that's true.
So, back to Bobby's house, and he's got some mail, and it like there's a piece of paper that gets basically like thrust under his door, and it's like the spell they asked for. It's got a post-it note on, and I like the fact they went to the time to like write this post-it note and then didn't like show it enough on camera that you can't read it unless you actually sit there and like stop it, which I did. It says, "Bye forever, you fools. Kisses, C."
That's amazing.
But I properly had to like pause it, and then like it was still really blurry. It took a while. But Bobby just says it's from Crowley.
Well, who feels like hog-tying death tonight? Old age is overrated anyhow.
Bobby, no.
Yeah.
So they're still discussing this spell a little bit later. Like it's a bit of a time cut. And Bobby's like, well, we're going to have to make a run for a few things. Like an act of God crystallized forever. But it turns out it's an actual crystal, or at least Bobby thinks it is. Because when lightning strikes sand, it basically fuses the sand together and becomes a crystal in the shape of the lightning bolt. It's very cool. I think they're a real thing. They're called a fulgurite. Anyway. I can't say it. So they've got to find one. Right. They're really rare because, like, lightning doesn't happen that often. And then when it does happen, what's the chances of it, like, crystallizing some sand? But he found an old auction, and the winning bidder, who happens to live 9 hours away from them, it's all just come together.
Perfect timing. Yeah.
So then we see them like heisting this mansion. And I thought about this. Like in another life, they would have been really good like cat burglars. Like, like Bella.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I again, jokes my head over. What is Grey Poupon? Yeah. I'm Googling it. I thought he said Grey.
I don't know. So there was another joke that Sam makes, which I skipped over because I also didn't get it. He's talking about a publishing house. I was like, what? I was like, you know what? Who cares?
So Grey Poupon, so this will give you a bit of context here. They're breaking in, and there's this like security guard, and Dean goes up to him and he says, "Got any Grey Poupon?" And then like knocks him out. And Sam's like, Grey Poupon? It's a brand of Dijon mustard from France. And I feel like it has to be one of those things where there was like a bet on set that was like, can you get this into the script somewhere? 100%, because no one would get this reference.
No.
Okay, no, all right, hang on. On the Wikipedia page for Grey Poupon, it says, in popular culture, the pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon? It's like there were old commercials and they've been parodied in other films, including Wayne's World and apparently WWE SmackDown, like stuff like that. So this is actually this is so niche. It's a reference to a running joke in other films from an old commercial about mustard. That's where that line comes from.
See, as much as I enjoy Sarah Gamble's overall writing style, like the stories that she can come up with, her references need a little bit of work. She needs to sit down with Ben Adlon some more and like think of some other ones, I think.
Fine. I'm amazed that that's now in my brain and I now know that, Yeah, because Sam's like, what? And Dean's just like, it's what popped into my head. This whole bit was really good as well. So they're just about to like break into this fulgurite thing, and the doctor who owns this is called Dr. Weiss, and his wife like corner them, and he's got a shotgun, like, so he's kind of like threatening them, like, stop what you're doing. And Dean just turns around and he's like,
I don't want to hurt you, really.
I'm the one with the firearm, son.
And he does this like look, and then there's like a hard cut to them like tied up. I love that it didn't include that fight. Like it's such a good like comedic moment. Of like, you know that Dean's going to win that fight, so it's just like it's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess they don't really want to show him knocking out a woman.
I mean, true that as well. I mean, they didn't knock them out. He just managed to tie them up because they're both still sat there like watching them.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Because Bobby and Sam walk in, so he didn't even have any help, and he's finishing tying them up, and he's like, "Hey guys, this is the Dr. and Mrs. Weiss." And Sam's just like, "Hi, sorry." So they found the thing, and so they're going to get started. They set it all up. I noticed that it's Dean who provides his blood for this ritual. I know. I also said the same thing. Why they did it in his house?
I mean, I guess they get the space, and they already know, like, Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they were worried that, like, if Death knew they were trying to bind him, like any kind of time happened, they'd be like stopped.
Yeah.
So maybe it was just like, let's just do it.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it's that.
And also, if they think Cass is also maybe watching them somehow.
That's true. He is God.
And like figuring it out. Yeah.
So yeah, I love that they set up all this ritual, and like in the background you see Dean like putting down this like bag of greasy food, and I was originally like, what are they doing? I couldn't remember what they were doing. I was like, why does he have that? I was like, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So they do the...
Oh, sorry. To also go back to your point of it being Dean giving his blood, was because obviously he has a relationship with Death, this Death. You know, he's had the multiple conversations. Like, I don't think the spell would have worked if it was Sam, actually.
I agree with you. I think Dean has died the most times. Like, he knows Death the best as well. But apart from the conversations they've had, like, he is more familiar with Death generally than the other two.
Yeah, and he's been the one who's interacted with Tessa, like Reaper. So I think it is just the fact that he has been in the presence of Death more often.
I totally agree. I feel like they should have ended up besties rather than like hating on each other. I feel like it would have been more interesting to the story, because I like the kind of relationship they have here, you know, where Death's kind of like tolerates Dean, but kind of lets him get away with stuff. Like, he has a bit of a soft spot for him, right? Anyone else, he would have just like straight up murdered here. But he's like, you know, you're kind of all right. Although he just... You
brought me food.
Yeah, you brought me food. You kind of get me. Whereas I feel like them being kind of antagonists was a bit sad. I don't know. I want them to remain tolerant of each other, at least, because Dean is so close to Death. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also can, like, when the switchover happens, I can also see why they wouldn't be friends.
Yeah.
Because Billy was a Reaper and had to deal with him. And him and his kin messing everything up all the time.
And I feel like Dean ultimately does, like, betray Death. That's such a weird sentence to say, you know, because they do have this kind of, like, on again, off again, like, we're kind of chill relationship. And, like, I feel like Dean doesn't stand by that. I don't know though, because he just asked him to kill Sam. I'm not sure. So, we'll talk about that when it comes to it. So Death appears, and like, it's funny because the Doctor and his wife are like,
yeah, because they're probably thinking that, like, what are these crazy, like, what are these devil worshippers doing, and like, why are they talking all this nonsense, and then something happens? Like, yeah.
I mean, they must have figured something was going to happen, because like everything was smashing and everything, but yeah, when it actually works, because they're like, oh no, all our stuff. But yeah.
Yeah.
So Death turns up and says, you're joking. And he's like, I'm sorry, Death. Of course, Dean talks to him the whole time. It's like, this isn't what it seems. Yeah. And Death's like, it seems like you bound me. And he kind of like holds up his hands. You can see this almost like invisible chain between his hands. And Dean's like, yeah, you know, for good reason. He's like, hear us out. Would you like a fried pickle chip? They're the best in the state. And Death says, oh, you know, you think it's that easy? And he says, this is about Sam's hallucinations, I assume. And they all look at Sam like, what? Whoops. So Death says, like, you know, one wool per customer, unbuy me. And Sam says, we can't. Yeah. And then Dean chips in to tell them the plans. He's like, oh, you know, we need you to kill God. And they kind of do this bit like exposition bit where like Death's like, why do you think I can do it? And Dean's like, well, you told me, like, you literally told me you could. But, you know, way back then, this episode, you told me that you could do that. Like, it's all kosher.
Yeah. Because he said something along the lines of like, everybody has a death. So
yeah, I think he even said like literally like, one day I will reap God himself. I'm pretty sure he says like that exact line.
I think so too, yeah.
Dean's like, you told me. And Death says,
why should I? Because we said so, and we're the boss of you. I mean, respectfully.
Love it. And then Cass appears, and he's just like, amazing. These... like someone doing something that you hope they wouldn't do, but like you're not surprised that they did it. But that tone of voice, I can't quite describe it.
Yeah. It's the parent voice, right? Of like, your kid has gotten into the paint, which you think you had hidden, and they've managed to paint themselves and everything around them. Within 5 minutes.
I was thinking precisely the same thing about finding a child with literally eating peanut butter out of the jar with a spoon when you said they couldn't have any or they're allergic. And Cassius says oh, I didn't want to kill you, but now Dean says you can't kill us, obviously because they bound Death literally.
Wait. Sorry, I have to say something real quick. Is this the reason why the gun didn't work? Is because Lucifer had Death bound. So anything they would have done wouldn't have killed Lucifer.
You're so right. So does that mean if they tried it again, it would work? That's really interesting. Maybe.
Huh. Anyway,
so nothing would have worked. You're so right. You're so right. Hey, look at you.
Or is it not going to work? Anyway, yeah.
No, I think you're right though, because Dean says, first of all, Cass says,
You've erased any nostalgia I had for you, Dean.
it's getting personal. And Dean says, Death is our bitch. We ain't going to die, even if God pulls the trigger. And Death is just talking over them now to Cass and says, annoying little protozoa, aren't they? God, you look awfully like a mutated angel to me. Your vessel's melting. You're going to explode. And Cassius says, no, I'm not. When I finish my work, I'll repair myself. I wonder at what point he thinks he's going to be finished. Yeah. What else was he going to do?
Maybe the monsters were next.
Maybe. That's so true. And Death's you think you can because you think you're simply under the weight of all those souls. But that's not the worst problem. There are things much older than the souls of purgatory, and you gulped those in too. And everyone's like, what? Even Dean's is what older things? And Death again, says, long before God created angel and man, he made the first beast, the Leviathans. So yes, they must have come before Eve, I think.
Yeah.
He's I personally found them entertaining, but he was concerned they'd chomped the entire Petri dish, so he locked them away. And he said, why do you think he created purgatory? Basically to keep them inside, and now Cass has swallowed them.
He's the one thin membrane between the old ones and your home.
Enough.
Stupid little soldier you are.
All right.
I mean, because Death is older than Cass, significantly older.
Older than Leviathan, older than...
it's just...
probably older than God.
And everything.
I don't know, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think so.
I think so. Because, the way they write it in The Sandman, which we know is, a kind of... very inspiration for this, that's the word, yeah. Is that, as soon as things could live, they could die, right? So that's when Death was created, literally as soon as the first thing came into existence.
Which, if it was God, then God and him probably came into existence.
Yeah,
at the same
exactly.
Time. Where does Amara come into all of this?
It would have been the three of them, right? Because they're twinsies. Yeah, I guess. So Cass is trying to defend himself. He's why am I stupid? Because I dared to open a door that he shut. Where is he? I did a service taking his place. And he's just I'm cleaning cleaning up one mess after another selflessly. That's not true, is it, Cass?
Sure you are. No.
And Cass says to Death, how would you know? What are you really, a fly swatter? And that just says, destined to swat you, I think. Oh, this is the burn.
This back and forth is so good. Oh, I mean, you've had more than millennia to come up with every possible clapback that ever could be. So
it's good. Death is so, yeah, I really like Death. He's so cool in this, and he's there's nothing you can do to hurt me.
Yeah.
Because Cass threatens to kill Death. And he just says, really bought his own press, this one. Please, Cass, I know God, and you, sir, are no God. And then Dean is look, put your junk away. Call him what you want, just kill him now. And then Death just says, all right, fine. And then Cass releases him from his bonds. Death says, thank you. Shall we kickbox now? When they don't start fight, he just says, oh, I had a tingle. I'd be reaping someone very soon. And Dean looks at him where he's no, you don't worry. We're chill. We're fine.
I thought he was talking to the doctor and the wife.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He does. Yeah, he looks at them. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Because they go like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah." You're so right. Yeah. So instead of killing anybody, he just sits down and eats his pickle chips because that's who Death is on the inside. A pickle chip eater.
Yeah. Well, he enjoys food.
Yeah. So that's that pretty much with Death, right? Like, I think there's a little bit later on. Yeah. Is there a little bit later on? There's a little bit later on.
Yeah, there's. Yeah, because Cass disappears and we follow Cass to where he disappears to.
So we go with Cass and he turns up at a senator's office and like during a campaign or whatever. And she's clearly someone who is religious in the political space because she's saying like, oh, I need to save my constituents from the godless policies of my opponents. And then one of her aides comes up and is like, can I help you? Because Cass looks bad. Like he's covered in like sores all over his face. He's like, he just looks disheveled and like, yeah, just
not in a good
like
place.
he doesn't belong in that office as well, you know, like it's bad.
Yeah.
And he just says, I'm here to see the senator about abuse of power. And he's trying to get out of him what he's actually trying to do. To be fair, this aide's being pretty nice to him. He's like, you know, what do you actually want? Like, But then I also think Cass here is kind of looking a little dangerous. Like he's not quite sure what he's doing there either.
And this is clearly him fighting against the Leviathan, right? And he's starting to lose the battle. Like he can't concentrate on answering this guy's question and getting to what he needs to do.
Exactly, because he just starts spouting off like, oh, you know, I'm not petty. I'm punishing people who cause poverty and despair. Like, I put your needs first. Don't you understand?
I am a better god than my father. How can I make you understand?
They do this thing where they like put the camera on the actor and it's like all close to his face and he looks like he's really out of control. And he starts like laughing like at the end of this, just as he's hearing all these voices. Yeah, it's really menacing and I enjoy it a lot. Back to Death and Dean. I mean, I'm calling it that because like Bobby and Sam might as well just not be there. So it's kind of awkward. They're kind of like looking at each other. And Dean like starts to open his mouth and Death says, shut up, Dean. Like, I'm not here to tie your shoes every time you trip. Like, I warned you about this. Like, how long ago? Long enough to stop it. And here you are. He's like so disappointed in him.
But like, so I have an issue with this because he didn't really warn. Like, he didn't warn them in a way that is clear. He just said it's about the souls. Okay, fine, but you didn't say that Cass is going to try and open a door to a whole bunch of souls, which then he'll try to ingest and take on these old beings. Like, you kind of left out the important bit.
I feel like you can't give someone a cryptic clue and then be mad when they don't figure it out, right?
Yes,
just like playing code names. Have you ever played code names? Where people have to like pick the words out, but you're allowed to give them one word in order to like link these words together. And like you can't be mad at them when they make the wrong choices, although come on, you know me, like you should have known it. I do get it. It's fine. So Dean's like, you know, I'm sorry, I'm trying to save the planet. Like maybe you should find someone better to tip off. And Dexter says, maybe I should find a better planet. Basically. As he goes to leave and then Sam chips in, he's like, wait, help us, give us something. You have to care a little bit about what happens to us. And Dexter's like, you know, I really don't. He says, but I do find that angel arrogant. So he says, your only hope is to have him return it all to Purgatory and quickly. You need to get him to the lab, get him to return, like all the stuff they did in the last episode, they have to do it again. Bobby points out they need a lunar eclipse, and Death's like, fine, I'll do one. So 3:59, Sunday morning, just before dawn. Be punctual, don't thank me, clean up your mess.
Try to bind me again. You'll die before you start.
And then he just says, nice pickle chips, by the way, and leaves. Love him as a character. You're my favourite Bugs, my favourite protozoa, because of the pickle chips. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So
we see Cass come to in the office that he was in, and he's just like killed everyone like bloodily. There's blood all over him, all over the wall. It's terrible. Like, yeah. It's they did like a really good job putting the scene together because there's quite a lot of violence in Supernatural, and I thought this was quite uncomfortable. as well, like with how many people he killed. And he's just going like, no, like he's no longer in control of himself.
And also what makes it worse is the way that everybody has died. Like it's like a shockwave that just took everybody out, basically. That's what it appears to be. But like, because you see like a person just holding something and he's not lying in a pool of his own blood kind of stuff, and just like, whoa. Almost
like instantaneous. I kind of imagine it like, just like on The Boys, where like the tentacle things are happening. I imagine it's like that, where like it's all, like I said, tentacles coming out of his mouth and like killing everybody, and he's basically unable to like keep them inside him, like literally inside him.
Yeah.
We go back to Bobby's house and Dean is drinking. Sam comes in and is like, hey, you know, we need to like do something about Cass, because like Death said the time. And Dean's just like, we don't. And he says, you know, we can't bring the horse to water and we can't make it drink. Why fool ourselves? He's gone full back into like the depression spiral.
Yeah.
And Sam's just like,
I know you think that Cass is gone.
Because he is.
In the progression of this episode, Dean has gone from, Cass, this isn't you at the beginning, to like, we have to, you know, we have to talk to him. Even Sam was saying like we have to talk to him, but Dean got there quicker to like, we have to kill him. And then it's gone from we have to kill him to like, there's nothing we can do. Cass is gone. We can't save him. What's the point in even trying?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that. That's why I wonder how long this all was. Sam's like, you know, he's not gone. He's in there somewhere. Like, I know it. And Dean says, no, like, he's definitely gone. And Sam's like, well, you know, I was gone sometimes too. And like, you never gave up on me. And then Dean hits back with like, but you were lying to us the whole time. Like, you're not, you know, you're having hallucinations and I've got to find out from Death. And he kind of goes off at him. And Sam asks what he was supposed to do instead, other than this. It's such a... I kind of hate those conversations where it's like, I don't know what I did wrong. I thought I did the best thing and this person's like still mad at you. It's happened to everybody.
Yeah.
So Dean's like, well, how about you not lie and like you tell us all about like your crazy crap? And Sam says, you know, we've got a lot going on and I didn't want to add to it, essentially. And it's all under control. And he says, you know, we could have dealt with this once we've dealt with Cass. So he was kind of kicking the can down the road on his health situation, which does make sense. They do have like a rogue god running around. And although he is having hallucinations, Sam is still functional. You know, like he's able to participate in the research. So for him, he's like, well, this isn't a problem that needs solving. Whereas for Dean, obviously, he wants to like help his brother. But
yeah, and it's like a progression thing, right? So it's the sort of, you know, it's one hallucination here, one there. Like it's not constant and like it is manageable.
Yeah.
Ish.
It's easy to see both points of view here. Like you can see why Sam would think that his own stuff going on is not important, because people always think that, right? It's like, why should anyone care about me when they've got other stuff going on?
Yeah.
Whereas Dean obviously wants to look out for him because he's his brother and like wants to care about him. I think the anger is misplaced, but Dean's always angry about everything, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Dean's on his computer and he sees the news story about the massacre at campaign office by a trench-coated man. And there's like security footage and he pulls it up and we see Cass.
So before that line though, this is where he gives up all hope.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Because he's like, you know how I'm going to deal with this? I'm going to stuff my pie hole, I'm going to drink, I'm going to watch some porn, and I'm going to act like the world's about to explode, because it's like he's had enough of, I guess, you know, when you have Death saying like, you're such an idiot, you could even figure this out. And he's just like, well, you know, you gave me a bad tip, like I just didn't understand it. So like, why am I even going to try? If we've done this dance so many times, I don't feel like doing it anymore. I'm just going to let the world end because my best friend, my lover, is not going to listen to me anymore.
And Cass did say when they last saw him that he was going to kill them all, and the only reason that they think he didn't was because Death was there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's probably thinking, well, as soon as he decides to, he's going to come like explode us. Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why Cass left is because he himself knows he's running out of time.
He's trying to get everything done that is on his bucket list. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
so yeah, he sees this news story about this massacre. He sees there's some security footage, and we see Cass, but it's not Cass because he like turns and just like grins like maniacally into the camera, like he knows someone is watching. And even Dean's like,
Well, I think reaching Cass is out of the cards.
because they've never seen Cass basically even smile, let alone.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. And you can tell when there's like a genuine smile and like maniacal.
Yeah, and that is full, like, yeah. So Sam goes out into the scrap yard and he's like, hey, Cass, like, maybe this is pointless, but like, I still think you're one of us deep down. I mean, way off the reservation, but like, we have till dawn to stop this, so let's help, please. But then he goes back inside, like thinking, well, that didn't work. Yeah, he goes back inside and he like talks to Dean, and Dean like offers him a drink, and he's like, only if you turn your porn off. So like, Dean closes the computer, and then Cass just appears, and he's obviously all bloody still and looking horrendous, and he just says,
Sam,
Cass.
I heard your call.
I thought it was really interesting that Sam is the one that ultimately reaches out to Cass to give him help, because, and I think it is related to what he did say to Dean, which was like, look, I've been far gone. You never gave up on me. Like, Cass needs someone to not give up on him. It's the like the blood freak in Sam, the blood addict in Sam, recognizing that like drunk on power thing, and Cass is like, no, you know, I was able to be pulled back. He deserves to be pulled back. I appreciate that. It's very true to Sam's character.
And I think this is the beginning of mending the relationship between Sam and Cass as well.
Did they just become best friends?
They did. You didn't give up on me, Sam. I'm not going to give up on you. Like, kind of thing. Though I have, screwed you over for this next season by not fixing you when I could.
Hey, look, I'll be honest, Cass makes up for this. I do feel like this is the beginning of their friendship. Because Cass does a lot for Sam in this season. And I don't feel like that's ever kind of forgotten between them, that like Sam helped pull Cass back from that. And then, Cass makes amends for what he did to Sam. And I think it just brings them together a bit more.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I think it is also a huge step for Cass to answer Sam's prayer, because we know that he never did, especially all through season 5. All through season 6. So for him to and like not have Sam trick him into coming, because like the time that he did appear in the same spot was because he told him the narration of Raiders. Yeah, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, obviously it was done for somewhat selfish reasons, right? Because he needs help. It's not just for. But he took the olive branch.
Also, I don't know if Cass would have asked them for help if they didn't ask him. He is very prideful, ultimately. So I think he would have just exploded if Sam hadn't was gone, I think it would have happened.
Yeah, I agree, actually. So, they are back in the basement, and Cass giving them direction as to where everything still is. Fortunately, there's still a small jar of the blood that they needed. Mm-hmm. And Sam's going to be the one to go get it. They're like moving stuff around, like furniture, I guess, because the fight they had before, like, knocked things over. So they're like...
I don't know.
Or they have to make a... Oh, of course, they need to find a new patch of wall. Because I was like, wait, they've already got the sigil up, but it's not done with the right blood. So they have to find a new patch.
You're so right. Yeah, of course.
I
was like,
do this.
Why didn't they just go to the place where No, because they don't have a set for that. That's why.
Exactly. He did it off screen.
I do like the way like little Cass is like on the floor, like wrapped in his coat like a blankie. Like, oh, it's just a baby.
He's hurting. He's hurting real bad. And Cass is trying to apologize. He's like, Dean. And Dean's like, what? You need something else? He's like, no, I feel regret about about you and what I did to Sam. And Dean's like, yeah, well, you should. And this is where Cass says, if I was strong enough, if there was time and I was strong enough, I'd fix him now. But I just wanted to make amends before I die. And he's like, the way that Cass looks up at him is like,
Is it working?
Does it make you feel better?
No. You?
Not a bit.
I kind of like it because I feel like this conversation does repair something between them. It's not great, but like just a bit of banter is like, we're both agreeing that this is a terrible situation that we shouldn't be in and that it is all your fault, but like, we are here helping you,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I will help you, but like, I will not be pleased about helping you. The reason why I'm helping you is because Sam went behind my back again. So this is we're in the wet part of the basement where Sam walks to the supply closet and he picks up the jar of blood and turns around and Lucifer's there. Mark
I had
Pellegrino,
zero
Lucifer.
reactions to this and then thought, if I was watching this for the first time, I would have been like, holy crap! And but on a rewatch, I was just like, numb. Nothing, no reaction at all. I was just like, huh.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
This happens. Yeah. So Lucifer says, I know, it seems all silly, doesn't it? Hi, Sam. Long time no spooning. And Sam's like, no, you're not here. You're in hell. Really? Meat hooks, chains? It's not you. It's not real. It's just my brain leaking memories from the cage because the wall broke down. That's all. And Lucifer's like, oh, that's a very good theory, but you're wrong.
Sam, this isn't you going guano. Everything else is.
What?
Everything. From the second you sprung out of that lockbox.
It's impossible.
No, escaping was impossible.
And I'm just like, oh, the whole changing of color sort of makes sense now.
Because if you were watching this in real time and this wasn't a rewatch, you would have looked back at this episode and the theories would have been, hey, wait, it's so oversaturated. Maybe none of this was real. Is Sam really just in a hallucination? Like, what is actually true and what's not true? Was all of season 6 a lie? But it clearly wanted you to think that at some point.
Yeah, of course. Because Lucifer goes on to explain, like, escaping is impossible. This is the best torture yet. Make you believe that you're free and then yank the wool off your eyes. You never left. You're still in the cage with me. I mean, that should be kind of a giveaway that it is not real because you're not just with Lucifer. You're with Lucifer, Michael, and Adam.
That's true as well. And I just... Sam's got to be like particularly smart and also a bit messed up to even think about this because it's all coming from his own brain. Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't he think that this would be real? Like, your friend who's an angel has suddenly become a god, but a vengeful god. It all just seems a bit fantastical. And like, I came back soulless, but like I could exist and all this kind of stuff. So yeah,
But you don't know how much Lucifer did mess with him in the cage. Maybe he did make him believe things that weren't real or that he'd been freed or whatever.
Well, I mean, that's a good point because if I were Lucifer, I would torture Sam in the places that he finds comfort. So there was never any doubt, let's be real, that he would get out. Like, that he has powerful ties to people. So that, you go back to Bobby's house, but you've been tortured in Bobby's house forever. You're not going to feel safe.
That's
there
so
anymore.
true. Oh, yeah, so right. It's real. Sam gets over a lot of stuff. No one really talks much about like the real trauma that Sam has. And you got to wonder if this hangs over him like almost forever. Like, is this real? Is this all real? At any point, am I going to be yanked back into the cage?
Well, I guess because of what Cass does.
It does help, yeah. I don't know, though. Yeah. I would question that my whole life. Like, you would forget about it at times, right? But then, like, when something particularly, like, good happens to him, maybe he'd be like, wait, is this real?
True.
You know?
I mean, I guess the point at which things should sort of click into place is when Lucifer does come back as a person and it starts to mess with the world again, I would feel like at that point you can be like, okay, no, I am actually out of the cage.
It's just poor Sam.
But it was a long time to get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then we cut back to the room and Cass is not doing well whatsoever.
Hang in there. It's a couple of minutes.
And he pulls like Dean
This
aside.
was so cute because Bobby, like, his voice cracks, like he's really upset for Cass. And he was like, hang in there, Cass. Like, it was, he's one of the few, he's like the only one showing real concern for Cass, I feel here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He doesn't have a beef with Cass. Like, he's just, he's just there. Like, you know, he's told him that he needs to be on more hunts. Like, he's never really insulted him. And just sees him as another one of his, like, people he has to take care of.
That's so true. Yeah. Aw.
Aw.
Sees another one of his dumb kids, right? He's like, you're just another dumb kid doing something dumb, and now we have to fix it.
Exactly. The story of my life. So, it's minutes to when the eclipse is going to happen, and Sam hasn't returned, which I'm like, well, how long have they been waiting to like get to this point? So Dean goes up the wet. I'm going to keep calling it a wet corridor just because that's the thing that really stood out to me. And you just see the jar of blood in the middle of the corridor, and Dean yells, and he's like, "Well, but you can't do anything about it at this moment because they have to do this ritual, like lickety split." Bobby like helps them up because you see the I think it's Dean who's doing the sigil writing.
Yeah, it's Dean.
I remember.
He's good at sigils.
And he's using like a cloth. I guess because it is pretty horrific blood that's in there, so I can for once he's not touching
that's
it.
true. Yeah. that's so true.
But we do know he doesn't like bodily fluids, so that's probably why.
To be fair, it's like monster blood mixed with virgin blood. Like, it's, it's all kind of like, you don't know what's in that jar. Yeah.
Yeah. Really don't know. So Bobby helps Cass stand up, and like he starts to recite the spell. But Cass then collapses again, and Dean then helps him up. Cass turns to Dean and tells him, like, I'm sorry. And as Bobby finishes the spell, you get the same kind of look as when he did his light show, but you see all the like souls leaving him and go, like, it's kind of this cool effect of the wall crumbling away, but like,
I like it.
But we're on the other side, so we can see them. So we're in purgatory looking out.
Isn't that the truth?
And so all the souls leave, and you see Cass just collapse to the ground this time, and Dean rushing over being like, Cass.
Oh, it's so sad. So Bobby's like, oh, he's cold. And Dean says, is he breathing? And Bobby's like, no. And Dean says, maybe angels don't need to breathe. Bless his heart.
That's true. Have they ever checked?
Yeah, that's true. They never checked that Cass breathes. I feel like he does. I feel like when he turned up in Bobby's house after he'd been fighting, he was breathing heavily.
Yes, but also he has gone to the bottom of the ocean without an issue.
Yes, maybe they don't need to breathe, but maybe they do.
Yeah, to be less uncanny valley.
Also, I feel like you need to breathe to speak. That kind of how that works.
Yeah, true.
And Bobby's like, oh, he's gone, Dean. And Dean says,
Damn it. Cass, you child.
which I've always liked that line, and I can't quite put my finger on why. It's like, I think it's to do with Dean just like recognizing like that he was naive, like Cass was trying to fix everything and failed. Like, I do think it's a kind of coming to terms with the fact that like Cass kind of got what was coming to him, but he really didn't deserve it. He was trying to actually do things right. He was just bad at it.
Yeah. No.
So he's like, why didn't you listen to me? And then Cass just like sits up and he's like, that was unpleasant. So Dean like helps him get up, and Bobby helps, and Cassie says, "I'm alive."
I'm astonished. Thank you, both of you.
It's that whole line of like, "I love you, all of you." Made me think of that. Although they didn't use the editing of the camera in the same way. He does actually thank them both.
No.
So Bobby's like, "Well, we were mostly just trying to save the world, but like, you're welcome." And Cass says, "Oh, I'm ashamed. I really overreached." And he says, "Do you think?" And he says, "I'm going to find some way to redeem myself." And he's like, "Okay, like one thing at a time. Come on, let's get you out of here." So they were fully ready to like embrace him back into the fold, I feel. Like it would have taken some time to forgive him, but they're already there. They're like, "We saved you. Let's go. We'll get you cleaned up. It's fine."
Yeah.
And then Cass kind of like pushes him away and says, like, "I mean it, Dean." And he's like, "Okay, like, right, let's go find Sam." And he's like, "You need to run now." And he like,
I can't hold them back.
Hold who back?
They held on inside me. Dean, they're so strong.
Who the hell?
Leviathan.
I love Misha in this. I can't do it justice. He's so good. There's such a sense of urgency.
Yeah, there's this whole thing of like he's afraid. This is the first time we've really seen Cass afraid because he's like, "Dean, they're so strong. Like,
yeah, it is
me."
like, "Help me, but you need to run away. Like, I'm trying to save you, but I also want you to help me." Like, it's horrendous.
Yeah.
He's like, "I can't fight them." And Dean says, go, go get Sam to Bobby. And then like Cass's whole face changes. Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah.
And it's like this like maniacal, again, the same grin we saw in the senator's office. Like, yeah. And like they just say,
Too late. Cass. Cass is... He's gone.
"Oh, I love it so much. You have to put it in." I love the way he says this.
Yeah.
He's like, "He's dead. We run the show."
And just his like
Yeah,
shoulder
it's the
movements
head and the
stuff.
shoulder movements. Like he says, I just, I was watching this with someone and I was like, "Oh, it's just Misha."
Yeah, you're right. Yep. Like I feel like his voice sort of changes
it's
too.
just
Like it's not
Misha's
quite
voice,
as.
but it's not quite. Yeah,
It's just more.
it definitely up, not down here. It's like
Yeah.
more up here. Normal voice. So he's like,
He's dead. We run the show now. Oh, this is going to be so much fun.
I was like, "Yes, it's gonna be fun. Yes, it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun. It's like this is what Eve needed to be, and I'm glad they managed to do it right or well.
I loved it. It's so good. Like,
different creature. Yeah.
Misha did it did full credit because like it made me really excited for the next episode. I was just like, yeah, and I know that I think he like dies the first 10 minutes. But I'm excited to see it happen again. Yeah.
The folding of the coat.
Unscripted.
It's like folding of the flag after folding.
Unscripted folding of the coat. You want me to believe Death Cell's not real? I tell you.
Yeah, right. All these moments that are, fine, sure, whatever.
It's just the layering on what it like top. It's fine. I don't know why. I'm really looking forward to season 7 because I feel like everybody kind of hates it, and I've always thought that I kind of loved it. I feel like there's something good about season 7.
Yeah,
and this is confirming my feelings. Like maybe I'm right.
So I'm wondering if, again, it's sort of like season 5 where we're both kind of like, oh yeah, season 5 is a good one, but there were some really bad episodes in it. And it kind of tainted. So I feel like maybe this is what season 7 is that whereas season 6, majority of it just didn't make sense. So that's what kind of made it bad with a couple of really good episodes. I feel like this season will make sense and will generally be good, but there'll be moments where we're going to be like, why?
I just wanted to have a quick look at the list of episodes.
There's 23 episodes in this season.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, there's a lot.
There are definitely some good episodes coming up. There are definitely some bad episodes coming up. But that is life as a supernatural fan person.
Yeah. This is true.
I don't know if I have much more to say on this episode because I kind of just like, yeah, I love it. It was great. Misha's great in it. Dean's hair is still bad. I still think it at the end of this episode, but all the emotions are good. And they don't have time to deal with any of those emotions because everything is happening quickly. But I don't mind that because things are allowed to happen quickly.
Yeah, and I do feel like this season, because they've established who the bad guy is going to be in this season already, they don't have to spend time building up to what they are and what they can do because they're going to show it over the next 23 episodes or 22 episodes now. So I think it's okay to then deal with the fallout gradually.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Yeah. I'm excited. I actually am.
Yeah, so the next episode is going to be Hello Cruel World.
Oh.
And
we have to say goodbye to Cass for a while.
Yeah. Probably not until the end of the season, actually.
But yeah. It is.
Get your feathers out.
Oh. I feel like my brain sometimes deletes that information and then I get reminded of it every now and then. I'm like, yeah.
It's almost like the game.
Yeah, it is. Oh, screw you, man.
I get it so much on my Instagram. It's so annoying. Anyway.
Yeah. It's all good. But okay. I mean, yeah, do you have everyone was great in this, and everyone was in it. There was Death, there was Lucifer, there was everybody's in it. Crowley. Mark Sheppard was great in this episode too. Every single line he said was pure gold.
He was.
Just
and he was like extra greasy as well in this episode.
He was full on like car salesman, you know? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. He was. Cool. Well, at the end of the episode, we'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his amazing logo art. And if you'd like to get that on a t-shirt, you can on our Redbubble store. And come talk to us about the beginnings of season 7, where we're going to go, and is this season underrated? Is it truly underrated? I think it is.
Yeah.
Or overly hated. Maybe it's overly hated. And we're all over social media on Tumblr, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Bluesky. Look for Escaping Purgatory Podcast or on Bluesky Escaping Podcast.
So this week we went to church and found a new religion, and our God is sexy. Oh, that lady. So next week, hopefully, we can find our way out. Bye.
Bye.